Hey there, it's Dr. Fee from Burnout to Bliss, and today we're asking the question, is your body giving you a massive wake-up call? Stay tuned. Hey there, it's Dr. Fee, and I help women overcome burnout to reconnect with themselves and find bliss. And today I'm joined by the lovely Lucy Mason. Hello.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here.
Yes, and Lucy and I have been working together for many, many years now, and she's our gorgeous physical expert in finding bliss. We've worked together and have helped hundreds of women, haven't we, really overcome burnout?
Yeah, for sure. Women of all ages. Yeah, it's
great. And so today what we're talking about is your body giving you a massive wake-up call? And here's the thing. For many of you, if you're suffering from burnout, you will be noticing that there is some feedback. It might be some simple signs. It might be some massive signs like energy crashes and brain fog, or you might even actually have a new medical diagnosis. And we wanted to talk to this because I think this is something that's commonly being missed when people are recognizing burnout. So just to give you a little bit of background as to why this is so important, because in 2019, WHO, which is the World Health Organization, finally recognized burnout. However, the definition is very limited. They recognize it as being like an occupational phenomenon, meaning that it's because there's this chronic workplace stress that's not being managed properly. And there's these three key markers, as you've heard me talk about before, which is exhaustion or depletion. The second, where your relationship to work shifts, you kind of stop giving a damn. And the third is where you reduce your level of productivity. But what is missed in this is, of course, how burnout isn't just isolated to your relationship to your work. It impacts how you show up with your family as you are as a mom or a daughter or a wife. And it seriously has an impact on your health in the short term as well as the long term. And that's what we're focusing on today, because honestly, unfortunately in burnout, there is a bit of push it down, push it on. You know, there's these beautiful, courageous, driven, kind of overachiever type women who we just love and serve because, you know, we've been that, haven't we, Luce?
We have, yep.
The point of burnout. And then, you know what? Unfortunately, there can be this sense of, oh, I got to do it my own, and failure to really stop and pause and take those warning signs to ensure that, you know, we stop it in its track, handle what is truly at play so that we can come back and have our health and be happy and live in a different way. So that's what we're talking about today, is why it is that burnout truly, you know, it can be a blessing if we stop and listen and notice the warning signs and act. We can see these warning signs as a blessing so that we don't actually hit that train wreck and end up very, very sick.
And I think another part of that problem is a lot of the time when women are perhaps starting to see some of these signs, and they might, you know, go to the doctor and not really get any answers or not really get any direction with that because they're not yet, you know, chronically unwell. They're just, you know, it might be that they're not sleeping well, they can't concentrate at work, and the doctor might send them away and say, oh, you know, you're a bit stressed. But really, these are the early signs, you know, that things are headed towards potentially much worse. And so these women, you know, kind of just, they get home and they go, well, this is just how it is, then I must just, you know, have to keep going and put up with it, basically.
Or get a little peeved as well, because it's hard to see. It does feel like you're being fobbed off, you know, like, sure, the blood test can be normal, but I don't feel normal, you know, and yet it can feel there can be a sense of helplessness and a powerlessness in that. And I tell you, I don't cope well if I'm in a situation where I feel stuck, and I can only imagine for a lot of women in burnout, it's the same feeling. And I hear that from our clients. And so it really does become that sense of, well, okay, what's next? is this how it's going to be? And so hopefully this is what these podcasts are about, to help to show you that there is a different path and a different way of healing. So if we look at it, what we notice is that women in burnout, when it comes to their health, you know, a lot of women either get diagnosed with a new medical condition, or they have an existing medical condition that is deteriorating, worsening. A great example, and we were talking about this just before we jumped on, like, again, we see a lot of women with autoimmunity. Autoimmunity is on the rise. Of course it is. When you look at the science and you really start to understand physiology, which we'll talk about today, if you're in a chronic stress state, your immune system does get impacted. There's a lot of factors that are going to be influencing why it is that autoimmunity is on the rise. But, you know, for a number of women, if we look at Hashimotos thyroiditis, you know, it's very common, and it is a condition that I've lived with for a lot of since I was 16, so I know it well. And for a lot of our clients, you know, they might have a diagnosis of Hashimoto's thyroiditis and it'd be quite early. They don't actually need medication, but all that is sort of put forward by their medical team is a watch and see sort of approach. Yet there's clear markers that it's not just in isolation, that there is factors of stress, like, as you said, Lucy, you know, you just get stressed, just handle that, but it's not necessarily brought to the table or given the focus that that's really required, or that it deserves, because, you know, being in a chronic state of survival and burnout has a phenomenal impact. And again, it's not a judgment against doctors. Most doctors are burnt out themselves. You know, so it's just understanding, and we're saying this from a position to, we support a lot of healthcare workers in our work, in our program. It's really there to put forward that actually you're feeling that these symptoms are a warning sign is absolutely right. So why not address truly what it is that's at play and causing you to get sick?
Yeah. And I think, you know, also we kind of live in a bit of a pill popping culture where it's like, you know, when you're starting to feel unwell, take a pill for this, or, you know, when you've got Hashimoto's, it's like to the point of when your thyroid's no longer functioning, oh, now we can do something for you and prescribe some medication. But there's not really any pill for stressed women. There's, you know, there's not, that's not the solution. And so, you know, when there's no easy fix, there's no easy pill, it often kind of just gets pushed aside or not really addressed properly.
Oh, absolutely. And it is, I think, very scary for a lot of women in burnout, whether they have that, for instance, and it's like they know they're in a negative spiral. They know that they're in the survival state, and they're watching their blood tests get worse and worse and worse, and not getting any necessary support or answer to help address those underlying causes, or using food as medicine, which is one of your strengths and wisdom that you bring to our program, Lucy, is to how to look at this in a different way, rather than let's just do a blood test every 3 months and see where we're at. And that is that ticking time bomb feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how many women, you know, have speak with me, and they when they say that they've got Hashimoto's, you know, it's kind of just how shocked they are when they hear sort of our perspective on it, and how, you know, you can heal the body from this, because like you say, it's multifactorial. It's never just as simple as these immune markers attacking the thyroid. Like, there's more going on underneath that. And so many of them are just like, well, I'm surprised to hear that. I thought this was for life. You know, I thought that this is just how it has to be, and I just have to wait until I'm ready for medication.
And yet you can fully get into remission with it, and our clients have achieved phenomenal results with it. And the reason is because all of our hormones do speak to each other. You know, we do like to compartmentalize things in conventional medicine, where it's like, okay, the gut is the gut, that goes to gastroenterologists, and then you've got your kidney specialists, and you've got your heart specialists, and your brain specialists over here. But when it comes to the hormones, you might go see an endocrinologist, and then you go see a gynecologist, and you know,
perhaps not someone who's connecting all the dots.
No, not at all. And there's a common factor in all of it, and that's you. And, you know, especially when we look at what ties everything together, and physiology, biochemistry. It's a very important focus to have. And, a lot of integrative doctors and holistic doctors will look at, doing expensive testing and nutrients and all of that. And again, what a better approach. But it's still in the middle. And if we truly go upstream to address what needs to be addressed, it's that fight-flight response. And what has to happen to address the patterns that are at play that cause us to live in a chronic survival state. And it's an inner process, as well as using that to find better structures or solutions to really match up to what you need in your situation. So it's incredibly important. And then, of course, with Dr. Google and, people are waking up to the beautiful truth around the gut and the role that the gut has with our immune system and overall health. And we've talked about this before, haven't we, Lucy, in terms of the gut, and what a lot of experts miss is the gut-brain axis. It has a bidirectional relationship. So if you've got a crappy gut, you're going to have feel pretty crappy, a crappy brain. If you've got a crappy brain, you're going to have a pretty crappy gut. Say that fast a few times. So, when people are starting to read more and becoming more health literate, and seeing that, oh my goodness, I am getting these digestive symptoms. And now it's like, whoa, like I know that that's where my immune system is at. And so a lot of people are trying to find those solutions themselves, unfortunately, like more restrictive diets and, trying to navigate that. It's a minefield, like so much information. This diet's the right diet. This is the many diet. This is if you eat these types of food, then you're killing yourself.
And so many specialists out there insisting that their diet is the solution.
And it's
maybe for some, not for everyone.
Maybe for some, not for everyone. And it can be very, very stressful. And that stress just feeds the beast. And it's actually the very thing that triggered it all, that the really irony of it, under it all. And it's not to say that we aren't about using nutrition and food as medicine to heal the body. We are, but we have to, if you think about it, if you're in a stressful state, go and eat some food, are you going to really be able to digest and assimilate it? And we know all of these beautiful bugs, I truly believe they'll take care of themselves if we give them the right environment. And the right environment is a relaxed gut. We pop so many probiotics, but if we've got that real stressed gut, it's not going to be as effective. And so it's something that I think a lot of women have a lot of health literacy now about the importance of that. And if we, the factors that can contribute to chronic illness and cancer and, autoimmunity, and then sort of get caught up in this information overload and in turn, unfortunately, make things worse for themselves. And that's a really hard place to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I say to a lot of the women that we work with is, just go back to basics. They come expecting that they're going to get their entire diet sort of overhauled and be given a meal plan, and you have to exclude this and this and this and this, because I guess that's kind of what
breakfast have this. Lunch, have these 5 foods.
And it's because they're overwhelmed by the amount of information, and they think that there must be some special prescription for them, but really most of us know what we need to be doing in order to look after our guts and look after our nervous systems. It's just back to basics, eating good whole foods, eating food that comes from the land, fresh food,
colorful
food, exactly. Eating in a balanced way throughout the day, make sure that you're having something regularly and not skipping meals, and cutting back on things like sugar and the processed foods. Like, just a lot of sort of common sense stuff is actually enough for most women.
Amazing. And it's something that I do talk about in my webinar or masterclass. And it's one where really, for me, it was waking up, looking at food as medicine as to, there are some diets that are very effective in multiple sclerosis, is the example that I give. And it's an autoimmunity, but they're very different. These diets are two very, very different. from each other. One's high in saturated fats, animal fats, and one is like absent in it, you know. It's very different, yet there are some commonalities, and it is like getting rid of those really processed foods and getting rid of those, you know, high sugar, like getting rid of crappy food pretty much. And we're not saying that we can't have a life with treats and enjoyment. You know, for us, for our clients, what we love to start with at the start of working together, we get really clear as to what's the outcome that we're after. You know, if we're truly, you think about food, well, just look at life. At the end of the day, we're searching for something, and often we want freedom and we want to be able to make the most of life. And unfortunately, when we get really focused on, you know, because Lucy, you could do a meal plan, right?
Oh, absolutely, I could. And lots of people say, please give me one. I want one.
But the thing is, how is that sustainable?
No,
how is that sustainable? Because really what we want emotionally is freedom and feeling alive and spontaneity. So the mind might win. Consciously, we might be like, yeah, I can do this diet and I'm going to stick to Lucy's meal plan, but we'll end up sabotaging it because it's out of alignment to what we truly want. It's out of alignment to our emotional well-being. And that's not to say that our clients don't have restrictions in their diet. They do, based on science, based on where they're at in the spectrum of the disease or the burnout process. We will, but it's not unnecessary. And if it can be temporary, it'll be temporary, you know? And at the end of the day, isn't that what we want, is to get you the outcome, not be fixed and ruled by someone else, you know, rules, restrictions.
A lot of women find when they're actually out of that survival state and their body is in more of a healing state, that actually with time, they're able to reintroduce a lot of the foods that they weren't previously able to tolerate. You know, it's pretty incredible how many women within 2 weeks of that fight flight being switched off no longer have any digestive issues, like everything's completely settled. And it might be that they've been, you know, avoiding dairy for 20 years or something, and, you know, just thought that that's just an intolerance and, you know, that's just the way it is. But really it's their body being in that survival mode that has caused digestion to shut down, and now their body is, you know, rejecting certain foods. So it's like you know, you were saying at the start, it's kind of it's one of those early warning signs that something's not quite right. If you're getting, you know, intolerances to foods, or, you know, you're finding that you're not digesting well, that could be one of the signs.
Bloated, that's right. And the same could be, like, we're using that as an example. Another example could be chronic pain. It's quite amazing with how many of our clients do present with, like, waking up feeling really stiff and tight and inflamed, or they might actually have chronic pain that is unexplained. They're not sure what the origin of it. There's nothing found on radiology. The solution is pain medication, which has its side effects, or they might try some anti-inflammatories, which long-term aren't great, you know, or steroid based. And it's just becomes this snowball. It's a snowball effect, basically. Once you start with some of these, it's just like you end up getting more side effects and lose sensitivity.
What can we do? What can we do next to manage your pain, rather than finding the source of that pain?
And like, it comes from a place, and it's not a criticism against pain specialists. It comes from a place of willingness to serve another human, you know, a fellow being, where, you know, they want to be able to help resolve this pain. But for our clients, it's never enough, because, you know, these are women who are still generally quite young, or have families, or want to progress with the career, and chronic pain, it is, if you've ever had it, it's a horrible thing to be faced with. It impacts your enjoyment in life, how you can be present, because it's a very much a part of you. It's feedback saying, pay attention. That's what pain is. You think about it. If you hurt your ankle, you have pain so that you know not to stand on it. You know, don't use your broken arm. Pain is there to say, don't use this. You know, this is not safe for you to do it. And so if you've got, you know, chronic back pain, or just as strange, like with a lot of our clients will have unusual patterns of pain. It might be their left chest pain. It might be a chronic neck issue. It might be jaw tension and tightness. It might be chronic headaches. And at the end of the day, there might be some levels of triggers to it, of which Lucy can support them to figure out, is it something in the diet, is there other triggers, but why is it that the body is reacting in that way? And again, this is what we see time and time again, and it's been one of the most heart expanding experiences of being a holistic doctor previously, now being a transformational coach, is pain as a symptom. Often when we do deeper work, it can resolve instantly. Or we can have healing sessions where we will resolve an emotional issue, and it could be something around, it has really created a trigger, really created a lot of shame or frustration or heartbreak. And when we resolve that, and I know this is going to be really hard for some people to hear, but we've seen women just instantly shift chronic pain.
It's quite miraculous.
It's like, it is. And it's like, pick your jaw off the table. and it's something that really was, as I was working and sort of walking that path of conventional medicine and holistic medicine, waking up to actually this body is intelligent. It knows how to heal itself. It truly does. We cut ourselves, what happens? It comes back into homeostasis. We have all these automatic processes that just come into play to heal and seal and totally take care of us. But there are factors that block that. And yes, I know in medicine we focus on using drugs to help with that process, but there are factors that block our body's innate capacity to heal, of which many, if not all, there is many that is relating to our emotional, psychological, energetic well-being. And so for us, that's why women can go from a state, there's nothing else that can be done, to getting out of that survival state, and the body takes care. Elise, did you want to talk about, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the body is very intelligent. It knows what it needs to do. You just need to give it the right environment, which is, a calm, relaxed state of being. Sometimes it can be quite difficult to do that on our own, and developing some mindset strategies and some strategies that address what we're feeling emotionally is really what's needed there.
100%, and we're not here to beat anyone up. It's very normal. If you look around you, most people get triggered, feel the emotion, and don't want to feel it. We don't want to feel our feelings in today's society. We are so conditioned to push it down and push on.
It's not as simple as just go take a bath, or just take a few moments out to relax. Often it's deeper than that. It's it's our patterns and our beliefs and our triggers that we need to look at.
And for us, what we really want everyone that we come in contact with is recognize that the particular solutions are going to be unique to you, but what we can learn is how to access that. What we can learn is strategies that we have, like tools in our toolbox, so that when we get triggered, because you're going to get triggered, life will continue to happen. There will be challenges. There are going to be, this is the process. It's not like all of a sudden you wave a magic wand and all of those conditioned paths and conditioned pathways and programs and thinkings that's contributed to getting sick in the first place have all gone. No, our clients are on this journey for the rest of their life. I am, as you are, Lucy. And so it's about recognizing that's a part of the process. But what's really powerful is that we know when we get there, okay, there's some feedback. There's my body giving me a signal. Okay, what is this about? And for a lot of our clients, you don't even need to wait. You're not getting to that point. You're tuning in, you're listening, and using our feelings to help navigate life, and using that as feedback rather than energy crashes, brain fog, medical condition, a new diagnosis, because for a lot of people, that's the more of a downstream effect. The body's really saying, wake up, there's something out of balance here. So
these women are just sort of getting back in tune with their body, sort of stepping out of the mind and stepping back into the body and hearing the signals. Catching them sooner. Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes the same with solutions, as we were talking about all those diets before. I mean, come on, like honestly, we can give you a guideline, but there's that art of making food as medicine. I know I have my values in terms of compassion towards animals, and I'm more swayed towards a plant-based diet than not. And I'm not opposed to the paleo diet. I'm not opposed to any other diet or a high animal fat diet, depending on who's it for. Okay. And why it is. It's just like for personal, making food as medicine is a personal thing. And so really work with someone who can help you, because if you're eating something or you're engage in a diet that is so out of alignment with what you want for yourself, your values, or what's culturally right for you, then I don't see how that can be a winning formula.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this is why prescriptive diets are not great. They just yeah, and it's preference as well. For some women, they just don't like eating cold foods, raw foods. It can be more of a constitutional thing, like you might be more drawn to particular cuisines, or ultimately you can break it down back to the basics and eating whole food, but you can personalize it and make it something that's make it so that food is enjoyable for you, so that you look forward to cooking, so you look forward to sitting down and eating that meal.
Yes, and so you're less likely to sabotage it with Uber Eats.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then beat yourself up, and we know how that triggers the sympathetic nervous system, and so your symptoms feel worse, and you beat yourself up, and you wake up the next day feeling hungover. So there's a lot in that. So let's have a look at the sympathetic nervous state, which is really that fight flight response. This is what we're talking about. It's that even WHO is recognizing it in their definition. It's that chronic workplace stress. And this is where stress is wonderful when it's short-lived, but when it's chronic and we're, getting triggered when we open up our email, or we step into work and we're faced with our boss, or we can't get Zoom to work and it's just everything's against us, or we're in lockdown and our kids are trying to get in, and it's just this constant state of feeling powerless and out of control, you're going to be in a survival state. And so in that state, what happens is that your body is wired to deal with a threat. It's focused on surviving. So things like digestion gets switched off. It's not the focus, and blood gets diverted so that it's preferential towards, running, and, your heart beating so that your muscles are fired up so that you can run, sprint faster.
Much harder to relax, much harder to sleep. Yeah.
That's the point that I think is really, really important, is that, lifestyle measures are often put forward, which is wonderful, like sleep more, yes, exercise more, absolutely, eat healthy, yes, those simple things. But if we are in a state of fight flight, then what will happen is you'll notice you're kind of sleeping with one eye open. You're just disruptive, it's disturbed, you're not having very deep sleep, it's not enough sleep, you might sabotage yourself to get to bed early, you're getting to bed at 1 o'clock. And so there's this, you wake up thinking about things, or you wake up with dread thinking about the day ahead. And so you're just in that state of a high cortisol state. And that in turn is having an effect, because, we know, like, for instance, deep restful sleep is so important for the brain to recover, and the body, the digestion to get back in homeostasis. It's just, this is the time for the body to rest and repair. And if we're in that chronic stress state, then that's exactly what gets impacted. Our ability to heal, our ability to rest and recover, the body to look after itself constantly. We are producing cancerous cells and defective, proteins. That's just normal. It's our homeostatic processes that keep that all in check. And so if we start to lose that balance, those, after, who knows, years of of a survival state, that truly is why we see, these warning signs develop into something.
It can be quite sort of insidious as well. I think a lot of us are familiar with the effects of stress when we're being triggered. It might be, that our heart is beating faster, that we're getting sweaty palms, or, feeling a little panicked. But when that initial sort of trigger wears off, we can still remain in the stress response. Our body just adapts to it. And so, you know, it can be these things like, you know, our cells and our bodily processes aren't happening properly, but we might not be getting the real, like, you know, big red flags that are, you know, that we can't ignore. And so it can just be going on there and sort of in the background, and we kind of, it's not bad enough for us to give it any attention. So we just don't pay attention to it, you know, and keep going.
Such a great point. Absolutely. Because that's for so many of our clients, they can't even remember what their baseline used to be, like their baseline. And this is the thing that we got to check in, and it's like you just said, the baseline becomes one of a chronic stress. This is just who I am. This is just how I feel. So when they start to get out or break that addiction to busyness, or start to experience more presence and calm and lightness and feeling,
they say, I didn't know it could be like this.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Oh my God.
What it feels like.
Yes, you don't understand what it feels like. I actually had a good night's sleep, like a good night's sleep. And I can't tell you how I feel today. Yeah. And it's because, you know, when it's day in, day out, of course, that
it's the new norm.
It becomes the norm.
You forget. Yeah.
So guys, it's such an important topic. And obviously it's one that we could continue talking about time and time again. Really, our message for today is about giving yourself permission to tune in from a place of curiosity and be like, okay, what are these warning signs? You know, is this something that is because I'm in a stress state, a survival state? And we have done many podcasts, and myself and Dr. Jagatambe talking about this as well, other ways to actually support you. What is really at play here? How do we actually help ourselves to get out of a chronic stress state? We're not talking about you saying, all right, enough, I'm going to leave that work, or all right, I've got to leave that stressful situation, because this is what people do. A lot of our clients have done those big moves, moved countries, or left relationships, got a divorce, or left that workplace. However, and I'm not saying that that's not what's necessary, but for our clients, it's really helping them to resolve that stress state, because from there, like as Lucy said, the body has the capacity to heal, and those things that you've been challenged with for years and years can resolve. If you get out of the stress state, you're more likely to be present and calm and patient with your loved ones. That does wonders to bring a relationship together again. When you're out of that state of survival and you're at work and you can think clear and you have more energy, opportunities and promotions, and a new lust for life is there. So really, at the end of the day, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and that might be a great, you know, thing to do for yourself. A great activity is to think back to a time where, you know, a really beautiful time with your family where you felt really good, and remember what it can feel like, because that is still possible for you now. It might just be buried under, under the layers, and, you know, you're not aware that that's how you could feel again, you know, because you just accepted, even if it's on a subconscious level, that this is your new life, this is your new norm. But going back and, you know, actually remembering, it will remind you of how life could be.
Oh, and we do offer clarity sessions, which our gorgeous team, you know, you'll meet with one of our enrollment coaches, and they're just gorgeous. And basically this session is free. It's really for us to evaluate whether or not we're going to be a good fit to work together. But a part of that conversation is where we actually get you to connect to what it is that you want. And for a lot of women, this can have such a powerful, it's powerfully transformative to wake up and remember, who are you? You know, don't settle for this struggle. You know, yet life continues to happen. COVID happens, the whole, you know, it's a world of uncertainty. But what we are experiencing and our community are experiencing is that we get to handle life differently even when external circumstances are out of our control, how we respond, how we feel, how we think and feel about that, how we react to that is certainly in our control. And so, you know, it's something that I think to help you right now, if you are in a place and you're ready to truly, you know, take that step to evaluate, okay, what path of healing is there? What else is there available to me? And, you know, especially if you've got that inkling that, you know what, my body is giving me warning signs. No more. I don't want to leave it until that train wreck and then, you know, it's an irreversible diagnosis. Then reach out, book a call, and we'd love to serve you with that. And if we're a good fit, it could certainly be the first step in terms of totally transforming your life. Because if you're going to understand one thing, if that state of survival is at play, causing all of this, you know, struggle in every aspect of life, then of course, when you resolve that, the side effect of beauty and joy and grace happens in every aspect of life.
Beautifully put, Fee.
Yay. So guys, it's been such a pleasure today. So we really wish you all the best. Here's to you finding your bliss, and stay tuned for next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you would like to subscribe and keep in touch, then click on my head and you'll subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to book a call with our team for an amazing life-changing experience, then click on the button beneath this, which is book a clarity session, or go to our website, findingbliss.com.au/apply, and be sure to fill out a short application form to secure the opportunity. Awesome. Stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you on our next session. Big love.